Most video games are nothing more than what they seem. They're games. You play them, you move on. But some games are special. Listening to their music, seeing their art, takes you back to a different time. For me, The Longest Journey is a special game. In order to understand what makes The Longest Journey special, you need to understand the time in which it was released.
Midnight, bonne année, Happy New Year!
It hit the North American market in 2000 and 2001, a different world and a different time for gaming. In many ways, it was a great age for gaming. We were playing Perfect Dark, Baldur's Gate 2, and The Sims. The PS2 had just come out, and the Game Boy Advance was on the horizon. As for adventure games, we didn't know it at the time, but the genre was emitting its last gasp. Adventure games as we knew them would lay dormant for many years, and one of the last great additions to the genre, sneaking in just as the curtain came down, was a Norwegian-developed entry by a little-known developer named Funcom. The Longest Journey tells the story of April Ryan, an 18-year-old struggling student in a Blade Runner-like future. As you guide April through her day, you start to realize that this isn't quite the sci-fi game you thought, and that her colorful, fantastic dreams may be more real than you realize. Soon enough, April finds herself in Arcadia, a lively fantasy world where she learns that she has special powers and a special destiny. She is a shifter, a rare individual who can cross between the two worlds of science and fantasy, and she must work to restore the balance, lest both worlds be consumed by chaos. What follows is a beautiful adventure game in the classic style. As you make your way through the game, you're confronted with puzzles that you must solve using items in your inventory and what you've learned by paying attention to the story.
Here's your bird, sir.
There were several things that made the game stand out. For one, the fantastic voice of actress Sarah Hamilton, who brings April Ryan to life in a way that is both charming and believable.
It's not worth much, but it's got a certain sentimental value for me.
She gives you no other choice but to fall in love with this character. Once you beat the game, you unlock an extra section that offers production art and even a voice gag reel.
It's a rubber... I can't say laughing.
Today, these kinds of extras are fairly common, but at the time, this was something different. It caused me to track down the game's creator, a man named Ragnar Tornquist, whose career I have followed ever since. This was the first time I saw that a game, like a film or a book, could have a voice. All of these things are great, but they are not what make it special to me. Let me explain. When The Longest Journey came out, I was still in high school, 1 year away from graduation. The life of a struggling college student was something that seemed adult and exotic. Even though the story was pure fantasy, there was something human in the character of April, something real.
Good thing we're best friends, or I might be jealous.
Something that no other game at the start of the 21st century offered. A portrait of a realistic, unsensationalized, believable woman. An adult in a medium of children.
How's work going today?
I decided to replay the game recently, for the first time in 15 years. Revisiting sights and sounds, and, compared to today's standards, crudely animated but charming CG cutscenes, I was struck with an overwhelming sense of nostalgia. It took me back to being a teenager, still in high school, a time when college and the life that came after was in the distant future. Now that I'm in that future, I look at April Ryan, I look to that confident, responsible adult of my memories, and I see a child. A lost, struggling young woman, uncertain of who she is or who she should be, just like I was. What makes this game special to me is that it acts as a touchstone, a bridge between adolescence and adulthood that I can now see from both sides of the crossing. This isn't a game about saving some generic fantasy world from some black-hearted sci-fi villain.
I feel sorry for him. Why? Because he doesn't know how to love.
It's a game about growing up, a maturing that continues throughout our entire lives, and that, perhaps, is the longest journey of them all.